Well, look who's back. Local authors Liz Fenton, Lisa Steinke. They're joining us with this month's book clubs. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am ready. You have 4 choices for us, and we're gonna. Is it 4? You have 4 today?
Yep. Yep.
Thinking if you're going to suggest 5, I can't even get through 1 right now. Let's stay with the 4. All right, let's go through. What is our first choice for this month?
The Mystery of Mrs Christie by Marie Benedict. So this is based on a true story when famed author Agatha Christie disappeared for 11 days in 1926. So this story reimagines what could have happened because basically when they found her in real life, she said she had amnesia and refused to ever talk about it ever again. So nobody knows what happened in those 11 days. So what Marie Benedict does is imagine what could have happened. So it's told from 2 perspectives. The first perspective is from Agatha, leading up to the disappearance. And the second narrative is her husband, the day she disappears. And the police are focusing on him, and it gets really tricky. But it's a great story, especially if you love historical fiction.
If you've never seen the way that we do book clubs, the ladies tell us about a book, then they give us the emojis so that we can better understand what the book is about, because we communicate through emojis nowadays. So what are your emojis for this one?
Well, the first one is writing a letter, and because Agatha leaves behind a couple interesting letters for her husband and for her staff. The second is a police officer, because the police obviously get involved right away, and they're really focusing on her husband, who has some secrets to hide. And the third, and Lisa and I use this emoji all the time when we text each other, but there's a lot of eyeballs on it. Even in 1926, the press gets a hold of it because Agatha is quite famous at this point, and they are relentless.
Okay, that is our first book. What is our next choice?
I have got a great one that I think is good for you. It's called Moms Don't Have Time To, and it is edited by Zibby Owens, who has a very popular podcast called Moms Don't Have Time to Read. So when quarantine hit, she gathered about 60 authors who each wrote an essay about the things that they already didn't have time for and now had less time for because of quarantine. They have Moms Don't Have Time to Read, Work Out, Eat, Have Sex, or Breathe. It's really, really good. And for you, especially, if you only have time to read 1 essay, that's enough.
Yeah. And to know that you're not going through all of this alone, sometimes that in itself helps you get through that day.
Exactly. And also her, unfortunately, her father's grandmother and then his mother both died of COVID. So all of the proceeds from this book go to COVID vaccine research.
Oh, wow. What are the emojis that you picked?
So I picked the guy with the mask.
Okay.
Because we should all be wearing masks. And then the mother and child for mothers. And then just the heart, because there's so much love in this book. I mean, every essay is so different, but so great.
Next book, Do No Harm. Is that it?
Yes, by Christina McDonald. So this is a thriller if you're looking for some suspense. It's about a doctor who, when her son is diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, starts selling opioids on the side to fund his life-saving treatment. Now, someone ends up dying and things get really crazy because her husband is a detective and he's in charge of the investigation. So she's trying to hide from him, she's trying to hide from the police, and it's really about a mother's love and what you'll do to save your children.
Your emojis?
The first one is a pill, a little obvious here for the opioid. And then the skull and crossbones, just kind of talking about, opioids are so deadly. It's such an epidemic. And that's why this makes this such a timely book. And then a heart, as I mentioned before, I mean, it really makes you think, what would you do to save your children? How far would you go?
Love it. We have one more book.
Okay. I've got The Midnight Library, and this is a really interesting story about a library that is located between life and death. So there's a woman named Nora who is completely upset with her life, thinks it's terrible, and so she ends up in this midnight library, and she gets a chance to reimagine all the different ways her life would have been worked out had she gone in those directions. So, it's like she hated her life this way. What if I'd done this? So there's a lot of what ifs, and it's a really charming story.
And your emojis for this final book?
So I did an obvious as well. I did books. This is a library. And then I did the suitcase, which I don't think we've used that one before because of all the traveling. And then the question mark, because what does she decide to do, and which life does she decide to live, if any of them?
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to decide to do. And I know it's not fair to the other books because they're really good, but you talked about one and it was done. Like the second you talked about it, you know what it is?
I think so.
Moms don't have time to. And I love it that I can read an essay. I can do an essay.
You
in
can.
between some diaper changes, I'll be like, kids, hold on 1 second. Mama needs to read. Ladies,
You got this, girl.
I got it. Thank you so much. You inspire me. You keep reminding me for that gift of reading. So I appreciate you being here. You can find links to buy all of these books on our website, fox5sandiego.com. Just click the Scene On tab.